As I've said, Bitcoin has formed this divergence on the RSI in the 4-hour time frame. It might get one more reference point right here. You got a little tiny divergence right here at this peak right here. You got a larger divergence with the peak over here. So you get these divergences going on. Might get another one maybe if you try to or go back up to the 100 period and slam up into the trend line yet again. It goes slightly higher. Trend line is rising at an angle, ascending a trend line here, so it's possible. But regardless, I think that this bear flag or rising wedge is going to play out and be a continuation pattern for a major move to the downside. Rally back up. Is Bitcoin being merciful to the perma bulls, giving them a chance to get out for the next leg down? Again, most of them won't take it. Most of them believe 80,000 is the bottom now. We have a higher low, higher high. Well, we have the same situation here. And all you're doing is setting up another lower high. You had the same situation here back in 2021. Again, we went slightly higher than the other peak, but that didn't stop the relief rally from being a continuation pattern in the form of a bear flag. As I've said, the Moon Boys had better start praying that this isn't the new falling price channel. Channels expand all the time. We broke the other trend line and we're expanding into a larger channel. Now maybe it's done here at, just throwing above the 100 period, or maybe we go again, push up into the trend line one more time and then get it. And that would change the angle of descent very just a fraction there. But again, you've likely peaked here or about to peak, one or the other, around our 100 period. I don't think you get above 98,900. I don't think you get above Bitcoin's average price, but you might form a miniature little diversions here on the RSI. Certainly possible, but I think you're going to get rejection here, even if you pop higher. Again, the Moon Boys have better hope this isn't the new channel, because then we're at risk. If this drags out, we're at risk of going down to 52,000, which would be beyond the 200 week. Personally, I believe this is our linear scaling. We might get closer, the log scaling closer to that 60 to 63,000 area. But again, they better pray this is not the new channel here, because if it is, again, these lows over here, these trend lines over here could be pointing to the next low, depending on how fast we reach it. Drags out, you're going much lower. If you reach it sooner rather than later, again, you could reach the 58,000 to 63,000 area, depending on how quickly you reach this lower dotted trend line right here. MACD has not yet rolled over. It's in positive territory, no divergence there. Again, you're likely going to see it roll over, eventually form a divergence down here, or maybe a multiple point divergence. Head and shoulders played out, and again, laughed at, posted this chart, laughed at, mocked, and yet, oh gee, it was right. Broke the trend line from the April low, back tested, and then the bottom fell out of Bitcoin. Everything I've said has happened. Please support the channel with the link directly below that allows me to be able to provide you this information. I don't have any sponsors, just a direct relationship with you. I turned those offers down. I don't want to sell you anything. So I just ask that you do what you can to help out. Exchanges will pay me a lot of money to send you there. I don't want anything to do with it. So I just ask that you follow the link below and partner with me and do what you can to help out. It's a secured site. If you could take a moment to help out, I'd appreciate it. These are the signals that I use to make my decisions with Bitcoin. The daily and the weekly charts, the monthly charts. I don't know about you, but they really help me. If you find that helpful, if you find that useful, then take a moment and support the channel. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you for your consideration for that. Now, while swing trade signals are still bullish, like the cloud right here, again, I'm getting warning signs on a lot of signals, a lot of momentum. Warning signs are happening here, back-to-back signals. Still may get one more. Push back into the 100 period moving average, but if we start breaking down, we can flip the trend signals back to bullish. These are the same warning signs that we had back up at the top in many, many cases. It's like the August peak. Again, I had signals turn back to bullish December 31st, January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd. Signals are still bullish, but I'm getting warning signs. Momentum is shifting, telling me we're either getting a pullback or a reversal. If it's a reversal, we've got to flip the trending signals back to bearish. Just quickly, we had pending still signals or sell signals with momentum. The trend signals are still bullish, but warning of a possible turning point if the trend signals will now turn. As I've said, and listen carefully, are you listening? We could get multiple signals. If we hit the upper boundary, the bear flag again, test the 100 period, you could see something like this where you hit it a couple of times. Okay? You get multiple signals sometimes. That back over here at the top, you had multiple signals. Regardless, I think the time is short, and again, as I've said, we may have peaked here. I think it's likely we have, but it's still possible the RSI forms a divergence or get another reference point on the 4-hour chart and the RSI in the daily as well. We get a divergence, a small divergence there before turning down. But you got a bear flag or rising wedge, so just warning you. And some of the signals showed up on Friday. Some of them showed up on Thursday. The ones that got canceled out on Friday, some of them showed up on Saturday. But this is telling us that momentum is likely about to shift. You're getting back-to-back signals here. Maybe you get another one. But again, it's warning that this move is either done or about to conclude in all likelihood. Again, we got it here. Rejection at horizontal resistance at 98,900. I told you I didn't think we were going above that. So far, I've been correct. Predicted the rally correctly. New bullish signals at the beginning of the month. They told us we were going to rally likely up to this level. That was correct. Back up to the 100 period. That was correct. Beautiful topping signal at the top. Beautiful bottoming signal at the bottom. I've talked about all these signals. Got one over here. Talked about that. Got one here right now. Again, likely going to have a continuation for the next leg down. I don't think you make it up to the 200 period moving average. I could be wrong. If we get the larger, massive bear market rally right now, I doubt it. As I've said, there'll be bounces along the way. I think this is a miniature relief rally, and I think we have a continuation pattern for a measured move. Here, the signal showed up on Thursday on the 15th, and again, other signals on Friday, couple on Saturday. Again, Bitcoin peaked January 14th. So far, on Wednesday, signals showed up here Thursday, just like on that other chart I just showed you, and then some on Friday the 17th. Here we're getting rejection at the pink line. Previously, we found support at it. Now it becomes resistance. We bounced off of it, and then we broke it, and now it's resistance. Now here we got a signal on Friday after turning down on Wednesday. Again, possibly a major reversal signal. Sometimes you get them back to back, but again, got one over here at the bottom, got one over here at the bottom, got one over here at this short-term top, and then we went a little bit higher, forming this potential bear flag or rising wedge if we take it from this low. I told you, again, we're rallying into a declining 100-day moving average. Might overthrow it again. We overthrew it one time. Might overthrow it again, hit the upper boundary, or again, form another reference point of a divergence on the 4-hour chart, or get a little tiny divergence on the RSI. I still don't think you move above this 98,900 area. If we do, again, it would invalidate one of my Elliott wave counts. The other two would still be intact. We haven't seen the bars turn back to bearish yet. So again, and the momentum here is still bullish. But we're seeing this potential reversal. Do we get back-to-back signals, or does this play out? And that's all she wrote, marking the 14th as a completion of the counter trend. Got a bunch of signals this past week here, during this past week. Here, I'll be watching for momentum to shift back to bearish. Here, bars have already turned back to bearish, but momentum has not. But we got these potential reversal signals with momentum. And we got it here on Friday. Also, again, got the bearish signal here. Again, back-to-back signals. I've talked about these back-to-back signals that sometimes give you, that sometimes give you the change in momentum or the change in trend. Here, we've seen the signal remain bullish. Other signals have turned back and forth. My signals turned back to bullish late December, early January, before the breakout of the triangle. Told you right here, we got this signal. I told you it was going to give you either a pullback or reversal. It just gave us a pullback. Same thing here. This is either going to give us a pullback or a reversal in all likelihood, or maybe you get to more back-to-back signals and still try to get one more push into the 100 period moving average, which is still possible. Great Scott, did you hear what I just said? It's still possible. Again, here's one that formed on Thursday, got canceled out, went on into Friday. But again, the swing trend signals are still bullish. This is just momentum. and we're stowing at the 100 period moving average. I don't think you get above Bitcoin's average price. I don't think you get above 98,900, as I've said. Got possible back-to-back signals here, but you could still get one more here if we try to get one more push above the 100 period. Certainly possible. Regardless, it's going to fail, and we're going to go back and take out 80,000. We're seeing these momentum signals show up, these bearish momentum signals show up during this past week here, all this throughout this last week. We're about to close out this week right now, just a few hours. So if the momentum signals play out, we get rejection at the 100 period or pop above it and then turn. Regardless of how it plays out, you got to see these trend signals turn back to bearish to resume the decline, to take out the support zone, as I've said, between the 84,000 or 80 to 84,000 area, the support zone. It's where we bounced. We saw my signals turn back to bullish late December, early January, as you see right here on this chart. But a bunch of potential bearish signals with momentum here. Again, this one's showing up Thursday, January 15th. So I got a bunch of signals, Thursday, Friday. Well, the bear flag's going to play out in the form of a miniature relief rally rather than a larger bear market rally right now. We got to get rejection at the 100 period. We got to see these bearish momentum signals flip the trend signals back to bearish if that's going to be the case. Now the trend signals are still bullish, again, from late December, early January. If we're going to turn, we need to take out move back into the lower range of the cloud, the midpoint of the cloud here. We need to take out the trend line. We need to drop back below 90 and 91,000 to move to take out the support zone, as I've talked about at great length and detail. Again, listen carefully. If we do end up turning back up, and again, right now, we've got a holiday on Monday for Martin Luther King Day. People are on extended weekend, a little mini vacation. We're on lighter volume. If we do push up higher, you still might get a divergence on some indicators like the RSI or another reference point on the 4-hour chart. Back into the positive portion of the cloud, we need to drop back into the negative region if we're going to resume with the bear flag or the rising wedge. Might see a divergence develop on some indicators, the RSI, and here with momentum. Whether that happens or not, we'll see. Regardless, the move is going to end up failing. Talked about my Elliott wave counts, and here I think we eventually drop, take out 74,000, and we eventually have a wave A, whether that unfolds in a 5-leg push down or a 3-leg push down. Here's the 5-leg push, primary wave 1, 2, 3. This is primary wave 4, and then we get primary wave 5 going down in here. This right here is the log scaling. That would take us down into the low 60 to 63,000 area and get an ABC back up. Again, back to the 200 period moving average in the daily time frame. Here's that count up close and personal. So far, Bitcoin has not reacted to Trump's announcement of new tariffs in 8 European countries. See what happens when futures opens, and we'll see what happens going into the new week. Again, notice the channel line here, excluding the shadow with the log scaling that could be pointing down into my target range. Again, 60 to 63,000. The measured move measures to 61,000. Here's a linear channel, and if we exclude the shadow here with the linear channel, again, possibly the low 60,000 range. If we include this trend line, again, and this drags out, you could be going down to as low as 52,000 before you reach this trend line with the linear scaling. If this drags out the next leg down, again, here I have it marked as we're still in crash wave 3, but the intermediate wave 4 is bigger than intermediate wave 2. So again, one of my other counts may be more likely than this one. Regardless, this is a 5-leg push down going into wave A, and this is saying that rather than being in primary wave 4, that we're in intermediate wave 4. While it's still possible how it unfolds, eventually we get a count by the process of elimination. I think this count has some real possibilities. Again, this is our linear scaling, but Again, if we exclude the shadow here, we could just hit the low 60,000 to 63,000 level or so, or move closer to that 50, almost 58,000 now with our 200-week moving average in the weekly time frame. But again, here I've marked it as a complex correction, at least so far. An ABC down for W, an ABC back up for X, and now another 3-leg down. Rather than a 5-leg push down, another 3-leg push down for an ABC to complete a large WXY. Let me just change the color on that WXY so you can see it clearly. The W here in blue, the X, and then the Y, a complex correction in a 3-3 type of a pattern here. And again, the moon boys had better pray. This isn't the new trend line expanding the channel, because again, you're coming down to one of these lower trend lines, including the shadow or excluding it from these lows back over here before you get that larger, massive bear market rally. And again, I told you I didn't think we were going above Bitcoin's average price. We're getting rejection off the 100 period, which I told you when we broke out, signals turned back to bullish. Then we saw the breakout of the triangle, and I told you we were likely going back to the upper boundary of the bear flag, expand the channel towards the 100 period moving average. And if you follow my work, you know I am a big believer in the 100 period moving average. This chart near the highs, and again, we broke the trend line, we back tested it, we got the bear flag, got another little mini bear flag here, dropped, a little miniature bear flag here, rising wedge. If we take it from this low, it's a bear flag. If you take it from here, it's a little rising wedge. But we're turning off of this trend line, we're turning off the 100 period. But I posted this near the top several times, featuring this in my videos in October and November, December, and January, and again, continue to be laughed at, mocked, and again, told how stupid I was. This is the stupidest chart. I started posting this. One guy, oh, this is the stupidest chart I've ever seen. I posted this yesterday and had another guy say the same thing. And again, people are a bunch of perma bulls. And again, I'm going to get very, very bullish when we come down here somewhere between my target level of 60. I think we're going to hit 60 to 63,000. I think we're going to exceed 50% and move towards the 200. But somewhere between 60 and 74,000, I'm going to turn bullish whenever I see evidence of a bottom, just as I saw evidence of a top here, just as I saw evidence of the bottom on the day of the bottom on April 7th, evidence of a top on October 6th, the day of the top, again, hitting major resistance levels, hitting major support levels at the bottom. Pay attention to support and resistance levels, and you have good indicators, you can make some amazing calls. I told you before this rally ever started, I called the November bottom. I said we were going to bottom that week. We did bottom that week. And I told you we were going to rally up to the low to mid 90,000 level, which we did. I told you we may get as high as the high 90,000 level, but not exceed 98,900. We did see that happen. My signals turned back to bullish January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and December 31st. Got it right. But again, attacked, mocked, and called every name in the book, but yet, oh, gee, I was right. Signals got it right. That's the point. Keep your chart right after the top. And I just posted this yesterday. And again, getting the same people, same type of people, the herd, saying the same type of nonsense, and yet it continues to be right. Oh, gee, I had a topping signal the very week at the top. I shared this with you back up at the top. Bars turned red the very next week, and they've been red ever since. We're bouncing out the 100 period. I told you I think we're going to drop down to this trend line, drop down closer to the 200. Maybe it goes closer to the trend line rather than rolling over. But again, with this next move, it could start to roll over. And then I think you'll move back to the 50-week or maybe even overthrow it. And very similar to what here. Right here, look at this carefully. I think right here, what we have right here is a miniature relief rally, and I think that's what we had right here before the next leg down. Then you get the big bear market rally. A lot of people, Johnny-come-latelys, are saying we're getting the bear market rally right now. My guess is we're not. I think you're going to get the next leg down. The stock market will join Bitcoin. Then, when the Fed panics later, then you'll get the big relief rally, and that's probably going to be in February or March if we do what we did over here. And this was a 52% drop. I think you'll see something very similar to that. You go back towards this trend line, moving towards 60 to 63,000. Again, you're going to be dropping just over 50%. Measures to 61,000. So again, I think I'll be correct. The top, which again, we turned off of this trend line. I got a lot of flack for turning bearish, but I warned you going into that high, it could be 1, 2, 3 strikes and you're out with the tests of this trend line, which we hit it in, let me get the right tool here, July and August, and then we hit it again in October, and we got a topping signal, one of several topping signals that I had. And again, I had some bars that turned red that very week. Had momentum signals turn back to bullish, but the trending signals are still bearish here. So I still think you get this type of a scenario, and I think you get this slanted type of a neckline for the head shoulders. I don't think we take out this low right here. I think you hold above it at this trend line, very similar to right here. I think, again, you come down here, you come to just above this level over here. You get this head and shoulders. It's got a slanted type of a neckline. And again, then a move back to the 50. I think you're going to see something very similar to that, where you have this downward sloping neckline here in the weekly time frame, near the trend line, near the 200. Maybe the 200 goes closer like this and then rolls over. But again, it could play out a couple different ways. But I think you're moving back towards the 200-week moving average here, currently just right under 58,000 now. Going to continue to rise closer and closer as we move towards it in the coming weeks ahead. So I think, again, maybe late February, early March, you could be down here at about the 60 to 63,000 area. The possibility of a head and shoulders with a horizontal neckline here, if we move down to 74,000 at bounce, I think it's more likely you move to this trend line and closer to the 200 period moving average and get a measured move type of a pattern. As I've talked about so much, a measured move where you get this move down here. Here we drop 39%, here we've dropped 36%, but then you get this continuation, the measured move, before you get the big bear market relief rally. I think that is very, very likely. I think it's highly probable that it's going to play out that way. Now, it's a Sunday session. We're about to close out the weekly bar, and then Monday will be a holiday, Martin Luther King Day. The stock market will be closed. So again, Bitcoin, very quiet. Trump announced some new tariffs, 10% tariffs on 8 European countries until a deal is reached with the United States acquiring Greenland. Those tariffs, 10%, will go up. That starts February 1st. They'll go up to 25% in June. That rattle markets. Do we get a court ruling on tariffs that changes that equation, or is that decision delayed? And does this tariff announcement out of Trump rattle markets? We'll have to wait and see going into next week. Remember, if Bitcoin has started the next leg down, the S&P and the NASDAQ should begin their first leg down going sideways, as I've talked so much about. When got its first leg down, the stock market went sideways, and I told you if that happens, then it's an encore performance of the 2022 top for the stock market. Bitcoin starts its next leg down, and Bitcoin's doing exactly what it did back in 2021 and 2022. So again, either you have this bear flag, or if we take it from this low, a rising wedge. The criteria is met with both of those patterns here in the price with the price action. Told you back over here we're going to get a rally. Oh, gee, I was right. Told you right here, though, the Fed, we could resume the decline if we took out support zone. We bounced off of it. My signals turned back to bullish after going sideways. We broke out of a triangle, got back above the 50 period. And again, my signals turned back to bullish December 31st, January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd. We broke above the 50 period. We pulled back. Got some warning signs here of a possible pullback or reversal. It's just a pullback to the 50. And then I told you again, we are likely going with the breakout of the triangle to the upper boundary of the bear flag. I've talked about this at great length detail. Again, I was right about the bottom. I was right about the rally. Told you we could sell off here. I was wrong about that. Signals turned back to bullish. I told you we were going to rally up to the upper boundary. I was right about that. Not going to be 100% perfect of the risk, and I was right about not going above 98,900, which so far we have not. Now, if we do go above that again, you make it your bear market rally right now. I told you I thought we'd just go to the 100 period moving average, which I was right about that. Just as I was right about this being a fake breakout, just as I was right about that these dips were the dips that keep on dipping. The Moon Boys keep telling us everything's a bottom. They're telling us 80,000 is a bottom. That's what I could tell you with certainty, because 80,000 is not the bottom. You're in a new bear market, a confirmed bear market, and you're probably not going to see, you're going to probably get a short-term bottom here somewhere in the first quarter, in all likelihood, of 2026, near the 200-week moving average, probably a massive relief rally, but that's just going to be a local bottom. That's not going to be, just as this is just a short-term bottom. Again, we're going to see this bear market last until late 2026 or maybe on into 2027. You know, you got people saying, oh, the 4-year cycle's dead. Well, the 4-year cycle's still intact. Now, what would change the 4-year cycle is if the recession and a potential banking crisis and a dot-com style bust in the stock market prolonged the bear market for Bitcoin beyond late 2026. And the 4-year cycle might change, but it didn't change up here. It turned right on schedule. It may be intact if this just lasts until late 2026. We'll have to wait and see, but you have many, many more months of downside. There'll be bounces and relief rallies along the way. Bear market rallies, I expect that we're going to get these relief rallies, as I've said, along the way. That's why I predicted a bottom right here. So the measured move, I think it's going to play out. We have exactly what we had back in 2021 and 2022. Again, here you had a bear flag pattern, miniature relief rally, just like what we have right now, going at the 38.2 Fibonacci. And again, similar situation here where you're selling at the 38.2 Fibonacci, but then you got the next leg down before you get the bigger bear market rally. And I've shown this chart. I've talked about it. Again, some people think we're getting the bigger bear market rally, the Johnny-come-latelys that are just starting to figure out that Bitcoin is in a bear market. Again, this is what I think is going on. So I think you get another leg down. And again, if we get another leg down, that's where I'm going to be looking to close my short positions and flip the trade and go long. And then I'm going to be looking to play, if we get something like this, if we get something like this bear market rally that was a bear flag continuation of a larger push down after this push down, ended up taking us down 78.5%. The bear markets for Bitcoin are nearly 80% to 90%. I think you're going to drop 80 or 90%, probably closer to 90%, because you're going to have a banking crisis. You're going to have a dot-com bust. You're going to have very bad recession. Bitcoin's never had a bear market when the stock market has moved into a bear market. They've only been major corrections in the stock market. You can watch my video linked at the end of this one if you want to see those corrections. Actually, I think that was a video I did Wednesday or Thursday. My latest video here, and you can look at it, but for the S&P 500 NASDAQ on my Ron Walker channel, I think you're going to see something like this. Bitcoin's never had a bear market where the stock market's had a dot-com style bust bear market, which it's never had a bear market. They've just been major corrections, and banking crisis and a very bad recession will continue to be in denial. So again, I'll be looking to try to close short positions down here somewhere, and then again my swing trades, and I'm still holding my short positions from the top and I've added to them. We had this rally, but as I keep saying, no interest in this rally. It's a counter trend relief rally in my opinion. I'll be looking to close my short positions down here somewhere. My target levels, be looking to flip the trade and try to ride it back up for a counter trend for a potential right shoulder. Bitcoin is up 4.85%. We've turned off of the highs for the week. We're about to close here in a few hours. A couple of hours from now, we'll have the close. We're bouncing out the 100 period moving average. I talked about this back before the rally started, that we were hitting the 100 period moving average in the weekly time frame, and I don't think we make it to the 50 week and beyond it. Could. I'm open-minded to it, but again, if it is, it's just a market rally now. I think this is just a miniature relief rally. I think the bigger bear market rally happens once we get closer to this 200-week moving average, closer to my target level between 60,000 and 63,000, which is a 50+% drop, a 50% drop or more. Last bear market, again, 52%. Before that, 53%. 45%, over 60%. They've averaged out around 50% or more. I think that's going to be the case here. Other than the bear market rally off the 100, I think you get it off the 200-week moving average. I think this is a miniature relief rally, a continuation, either a rising wedge if we take it from our low, or you have a bear flag if we take it from the higher low that developed as I've shown you. By the way, if I bring up the Fibonacci retracements here in the daily time frame, the Fibonacci retracements from this decline right here, we've hit our 38.2 Fibonacci. That's what we did the last time when we got the miniature relief rally before the next leg down. Now, again, it's still possible we go up slightly higher than the recent high here and try to form a divergence on the RSI. You don't have to, but you could. I'm getting topping signals. Might get multiple topping signals there, but this is what I think is going to happen, and it's very possible that the peak is in now, and we don't form a divergence on the RSI. You are stowing at the 38.2 Fibonacci, very feeble rally. You didn't make it to the 50%. You didn't make it to the 61.8 Fib. You didn't make it to the 78.6 Fibonacci. You made it to just the 38.2 Fibonacci. Very, very feeble. And the 100 period, which again, I've said, Bitcoin follows the 100 period moving average. The 100 period, either you're going to hit it or just overthrow it. We just overthrew it. Still may overthrow it a little bit more if you end up getting that divergence on the RSI in the daily time frame.